Well, we're not here to sugarcoat anything. Obviously, there obviously is always some good, but our ability to sustain and finish is where, we still are not close to where we need to be. And the second half kind of showed that. And I would give them a lot of credit in their ability to stick with what they needed to do and what they wanted to do. And in the long run, probably wore us down a bit. And, we weren't able to sustain and maintain some things in the second half. The game of football hasn't changed. It's grown, but the truth of the matter is 12, 13, 14 play drives, sustaining things like that's tough. I don't care on either side of the ball. I don't know if they had a 13-play drive, and I know we did on the first series, but we have to be able to find ways to make some bigger plays, whether that's get the ball down the field, that's break some runs, give our guys an opportunity to get to the second level, which I don't know that the backs ever had an opportunity to do today. And the same thing defensively. The difference in a ball game is some big plays, and not taking anything away from them. They made some plays down the field, some catches down the field that are really, really good plays, and in some really contested situations that they capitalize on. And that's right now where we aren't and haven't been able to do. But I sure as hell can tell you that it's going to be a battle. And we said it in the locker room, there's only one way, for where we want to go, and that's through it. And that's through these tough times. That's through these really tough situations. That's recognizing that what we have to do and how we have to grow is going to take a hell of a lot of effort, a hell of a lot of toughness, and most importantly, a hell of a lot of competitive spirit. And every play will be evaluated tonight from offense, defense, and special teams about what's the competitive spirit, what's the competitive nature of every guy on our team, and we're going to continue to push forward with that.
Nick, you want to start?
Luke, obviously a change of quarterback. What stood out from Hunter Simmons the last week and a half, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I probably should have opened up a little bit with that. Hunter, I think, showed some poise. We had a plan to play both quarterbacks. Sometimes, it doesn't always go as planned. And they both prepared. Over the bye week, we gave them an opportunity. Both guys competed. Both guys have their strong suits. But just for where we are and what we needed, we thought Hunter gave us the best opportunity, had a really good week and a half of practice. And to be honest with you, we had a lot of questions too. I've never seen Hunter play. You're in your 5th, 6 weeks of the season, and you're putting a guy out there that, you've seen in practice and you've seen run with the 3s and maybe some with the 2s. And, but this past week he did a really good job, and Danny did too. But at some point in time, we've got to take our shots. And I'll give you, I haven't watched, obviously I got to go and watch the game and everything, but I know this, that there was some poise in that kid. He did some things we needed him to do, and we'll continue to grow with it.
Jake, just with what you saw from Bryce, I know Bryce Underwood, what did you see from him, Michigan quarterback?
I know who that is. We're talking about Wisconsin here, but he's a good football player. I think they do a good job with him at being smart. Putting him in situations where, it's not, not too much on him right now. He'll grow and grow and grow, but he's as talented as there is, and not just throwing the football, running the football, and give him credit. He made some of those plays today. He didn't put the ball in jeopardy very much, and that's probably a recipe for success for them. But I'm more concerned about Hunter and Danny O'Neill and our guys more than anything.
Mark.
Luke, you made some changes with the offensive line. Davis at center, brought Kerry back at guard. Just one, initial impressions, and two, kind of what did they show you that you kind of liked that you wanted to see?
Well, I don't know about initial. It's still been a work shuffling around. Those guys have been dinged up. Davis, we moved to center, tried him at center. In the bye week, has never played center. To be honest with you, I think maybe a couple days in his freshman year at Central Michigan, I think. But he worked and worked and worked and felt comfortable about where he was and, his maturity. And to be honest with you, I think he went out there and, just from my advantage point, obviously we had a couple maybe snap issues a little bit here and there, but I think that he did a pretty good job. And Kerry's been, not a guy that could practice a whole lot. He had been the backup center, and then he had been hurt, and he's still a little bit, probably tough for him to snap. So we were able to move him to guard. But even those guys throughout the last week and a half of practice, it's not like they've been able to work together, just getting us to the point where we're healthy enough to go play on Saturdays. it's been a little bit difficult. But those guys showed us some stuff. We got to get better. I mean, obviously, we got to be able to sustain things. We got to be able to get our backs to the second level. But I think that they battled their asses off. They competed. They gave us some energy and momentum. We just got to find a way to create more.
So we talk about batting down. We talk maybe more about the defense because that unit was on the field for over 10 minutes in the third quarter, and they played really well, obviously, but it just seemed like that was a factor there.
Yeah, it still comes down to making plays, and in overcoming plays that are made. Whether they throw a ball down the sideline in the first half and great coverage by Matt Young, and a guy makes a great play. Second half, they throw a ball down the sidelines and great catch. They call him out of bounds. They review it. They put he's in bounds, and we aren't able to recover from some of those things. And that's a little bit of the wear and tear. But there's no excuse. No matter what, your job as a defense is to outplay the other team's defense, and that's a really good defense on the other side of the ball that we had to find a way to outplay. And I thought they did a good job. The big play, even early the first run or two in the first drive. That's where those guys are really good. I mean, those backs are talented. They can go the distance. Outside of that, I think we did a pretty good job with them, here and there. But, we got to be able to make some plays down the field as well.
John.
Going back to the switch to Hunter, at what point in the week did you decide that Hunter was to be your starter? How many first team?
Well, I don't know that anybody really knew, right? I mean, the interview before the game, they were asking me about Danny, and not that, you're going to announce things. They competed through the whole week, to be honest with you. And I think it was Thursday that we sat down with them and said, hey, this is the route we're going to go. This is how we're going to start it. But the vision is that both of you are going to play. And, we're just going to have to go from there. And, those guys are mature enough to be able to handle the situation. So Friday was probably the one day where, Hunter had an opportunity to be at the helm for most of the day. But it's a process that we're going to have to keep pushing through. A lot of things we still don't know. You'll ask me again on Monday. I probably won't know again on Monday. But I promise you this, that, like I said, that the competitive spirit and the competitive nature, we're going to find out who the ones are that don't look at the scoreboard, don't look at the record, don't worry about who the next opponent is, but are willing to fight their way through this thing and find ways for us to continue to grow, gain more consistency, get better at what we do, and come out a hell of a lot stronger on the other end.
I don't know about the competitive spirit, because it seems when you're talking about you getting agitated. I don't know if that's just losing. Okay, I didn't know if you don't think you're.
No, I just wanted to be a point to be made that's kind of the emphasis, right? I mean, our guys work hard, and a little thing was brought to my attention, sent to me, whatever, that just reminded me of that there's one thing to working hard, right? I mean, as parents, we can demand it. As coaches, we can demand it. And you can push guys to do that, but there's another thing to a competitive spirit, a competitive nature. When the ball goes down, when someone punches you in the mouth, when there's 10,000 people screaming and hollering, that's when you find out what guys are. And when we've all seen them. I've seen some lazy guys that I've had as a coach, and they don't practice very well, and this, that, and the other thing. And all of a sudden you go out to a game, and it's like, whoa, there's a different competitive spirit and nature. And that's just what we've been continuing to try to say, hey, this is what we got to promote. This is what we got to push. This is what we got to recognize. And this is what we need to bring out in ourselves. It's not agitated. It's not, we don't have it. It's just, hey, this is what we're going to ID. This is what we're going to identify. And this is how we're going to grow.
Did you consider that at all?
Yeah, if we had got to stop, it was going to be the timeouts. I thought that, where we were and how many points we needed to have opportunities on offense. The one was right before the 2-minute warning, just to say, hey, but the truth of the matter is I said, guys, we get a stop. We get them to third down in a situation where maybe they have to throw the football to keep the ball. Then we're going to call the timeouts. And then we're going to give our offense shots with timeouts, as opposed to putting ourselves in a situation where, you call them and then you can't stop them. It was more put on our eyes to show, like, stop them, we'll call the timeouts. We'll give our offense the ball back. We'll have the timeouts with the situation so that we can play football. That was kind of the decision.
Cool.
So kind of tagging on that, is it frustrating that you just end up not calling the timeouts and then they're running no huddle at the end?
No, I don't. It's part of the game. If they choose to do that, they choose to do that. those are just things you gotta remember, and you play better.